How is everybody? All right. It is exciting to be back here. As you can see, 2002 is a long time ago. I don't know how old you guys were, but a lot has changed. Aaron gave me a quick tour. It was amazing to see some of the growth that this campus has had. When I graduated, 0102 arena was the flight library was the big thing. And that thing is old now. So, just to see what you guys have is amazing. And this program alone, I wish there was something like this when I was here. This would have been something right up my alley. So I want to spend the first half kind of talking about when I was at Ferris, what that was like, the things I did, and coming out of that, and then spend the second half kind of talking about what I do now, which is working with student athletes at U of M and helping them with their career transitions, and why that's something that's near and dear to me. So one thing that I do with all my student athletes, I always talk to them about who they are. So your whole life comes down to a dash. It's either the day you were born and then the day you die. And then there's a little dash in the middle. And you guys seen that dash before? That's supposed to be your whole life, right? It's supposed to be everything that you've accomplished, everything that you wanted, all the dreams, all the accomplishments, all in that dash. And so when we go through life, we're trying to have these defining moments from the day we're born. We're trying to figure out, who am I? Why do I like the things I like? Why do I want to do the things I want to do? Who am I? What are those defining moments? And so when I ask you, and believe me, I'm the kind of guy that likes participation, so I will be calling on folks. Who are you? Think about that question for a second. Not, I'm Marcus Scott, football player, or I'm Marcus Scott, I want to work in sports, but who are you? What's the essence of you? What's going to fill that dash one day? So Aaron, since I know your name, who are you? Stand up. Who are you?
I am a sports enthusiast, I am a hard worker, and I am a very good friend.
Okay. Like it. Who else is willing to volunteer? Who are you? Who are you?
My name is Terrell Wright. I'm driven. I'm positive, optimistic. Compassionate. I am loving. I am friendly. I am that I am. I am myself.
All right. How about a female? Who wants to jump up? Go ahead.
I'm Sydney Zablocki. I'm an outgoing, fun-loving person. I'm honest. I'm blunt. It might come off a little bit rude, but I'm never afraid to give a little hard love when it's needed to the people that I care about.
All right.
Driven, hardworking, and optimistic in life, and always striving for the best.
Okay. So who are you? If you don't know who you are, then you're going to allow other people to define who you are. Okay? It's important, the more you know what you want, what you bring to the table, that you can kind of pave out your road in life. It took me a little bit of time to figure that out, okay? And Ferris was a great arena for me to kind of figure that out. But once I knew what I wanted to do, I was able to kind of be the captain of my own ship, okay? And not allowing other people to tell me what I can and cannot do. So, as we're thinking about who we are, and our three examples here, everybody in here has a phone, I know it. Pick up your phone. It's all right. We'll let you get away with it. Unlock it, and pass it to the person next to you. All right.
Hand it over.
I'm just joking. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. But listen. That is a great example of who are you? Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with unlocking your phone and giving it to somebody for them to see everything that you've texted, that you snapped, that you've posted over the last 10 days? Are you comfortable with that? Because I tell you this, your phone is who you are. Because if you're not comfortable with doing that, maybe you need to clean it up a little bit. All right? But who are you? Okay? You have to live this. You have to be all in on this. This is not something you can be half on. All right? And when I was at Ferris, back in a freshman in '97, I came up here. I was playing sports in Ann Arbor at my high school. I had offers to go to some D3 schools, play football or basketball, passed those up, and I came up to Ferris. I was all about being an athlete. Attempted to walk on basketball, didn't get on. Walked on to football. And then one of the things you're going to learn tonight are those defining moments. I had a defining moment. I partied too much. I had a good time when I got here. And my first wake-up call was academically ineligible. That was my first wake-up call. And when I went through that, that was one of those things where it was like, you know what? I'm a smart guy. What is going on here? My priorities aren't right. And I had to make a choice. Was I going to get myself ready for the next 40 years of my life, or was I just going to concentrate on the next 4 years of my life? And one of the things I knew right then was that in order for me to do what I needed to do, that unfortunately sports wasn't going to be in the cards for me. And that's not for everybody. But I knew myself. Again, who am I? I knew myself. And I knew that there was a plan for me. I didn't know what that plan was, but I knew there were some other things that I was very interested in that I needed to focus on first that were going to last a lot longer than sports was. And so when I came back to Ferris my sophomore year, I had to do some soul searching. First of all, I had to find a program that fit me, okay? I came in here, I still remember, I came in here, environmental and health management or something like that, studies. I don't know why I thought that was cool, but I chose it. Being that I didn't like science, I don't know why I chose it. So during this time, one of the things I did was took an inventory of myself. Who was I? Who were I? What did I like? What are the things that interest me? And I figured out that communications was something I loved. Had been doing it since I was a little kid. My mom was a English and public speaking teacher and principal. She basically put me in front of crowds like this since I was this big. And so it was one of those things that I wasn't really thinking about that I knew that I was good at. And what happened was I found the program here, Applied Speech Communication. And that led me on to not only achieving academically at some of the highest levels that I had ever achieved in my academic career, but outside of that, I found myself. So I wasn't playing sports anymore, but I was the president of the radio station, if we can call it that back then. It was through a TV, but I loved it. And it was on the brink of basically falling apart because of some FCC violations back in the day. And I became the station manager and president of the radio station. I also was on the speech team, placing second, third, I can't remember, second. All right, I'll take your word for it. In the poetry competition, traveled the state, and I found myself again doing some of the things that I grew up with and was passionate about. And finally, because one of my interests was getting into television and radio, I actually went to the dean of the television production program and asked him if I could do live interviews and production with the team over there. I knew a lot of the guys and gals over there wanted to be behind the camera and not in front of it, and I said, well, this is a perfect opportunity for me to be on-air talent. And so I had about 4 or 5 different shows that I did during the time I was here at Ferris. So it was amazing. When I found out who I was and what I wanted to do and that I could put my all into it, I achieved at the highest level. So I graduated from Ferris, and guess when I graduated? If I graduated right around 2001, actually, what happened around 2001 in this country? 9/11, right? So getting out of Ferris, being excited about getting into the real world, and 9/11 happens. And literally nobody was hiring. I had offers down at CNN in Atlanta, MTV in New York. I had all kinds of offers just dry up because of 9/11. So again, a defining moment. What are you gonna do? You know, sitting at home, my parents' couch, which is not a pretty sight after you're grown and graduated, trying to figure out what to do. The best advice my parents gave me was, you can always come home. You need to look outside of Michigan. And so as soon as I started looking outside of Michigan and looking at opportunities elsewhere, outside of my comfort zone, opportunity started to present itself. And I ended up in Chicago, okay, which was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I moved out to Chicago, and this is where, if you guys have to take something away tonight, I want you to take away that you have to take chances. You have to get out of your comfort zone. It's imperative. If you don't get outside of your comfort zone, you don't take chances, life happens. Believe me. I'm married with 2 kids right now and turning 40 in 2 months. Life happens before you know it. How many freshmen do we have in here? How many sophomores? Juniors? Seniors? Seniors, you remember like it was yesterday, it was freshman year, right? Flew. You didn't believe people when they said, enjoy it. Yeah, and believe me, the next 10, 15, they're gonna fly too. So take chances, take chances. If you get that opportunity in Florida, you get that opportunity in California, you get to go to Ohio, New York, wherever it may be, go. Because you may not get a chance to do it again. Just because life happens. It just happens, okay? So I got out to Chicago, and I was working multiple jobs. I kind of took a hope and a prayer. I was getting offers. They weren't all the offers I wanted, but it got me out to Chicago. That's the other thing. Sometimes you take a job just to get you to where you need to be to find the opportunity, okay? So I got out there. I literally lived in a extended stay for 2 weeks on the money I saved from my other jobs back here in Michigan while I could find a place in Chicago. And once I got settled in, I made some connections. And I actually did work for a radio station out there, 670 The Score, sports radio, as an executive producer for about 4 years. And then, again, a defining moment. I decided that I had hit the wall, that there wasn't really the opportunity I was looking for, and that I was actually passionate about something else. One of the things that you learn is that you have transferable skills, okay? So even though right now, you may be focused on sports, when you're working your first job out of college and your first couple jobs out of college, make sure you learn everything you can at that company, okay? Even if it's outside your job jar, all right? They want you to do this. Make friends with the guy over here in marketing. Make friends with the guy in sales. Can I shadow you? Can I learn what you do? The more you are valuable to that company, the more skills you obtain, the more opportunities you're going to be able to get further down the road. You may not be able to see it. It's like chess. You may not be able to see that move right now, but it's 12 moves away, it's checkmate. All right? So learn as much as you can so you can have those transferable skills, because one day you may decide, I want to pivot out of sports. You know, I'm interested in something else. You know, it just happens sometimes one day. And so what happened was, I found myself interested in job development. I was one of my side jobs that I was doing. I was working for a for-profit training school that worked with the Department of Labor's Workforce Development Program, which helps at-risk populations get back to work. Veterans, seniors, youth, long-term unemployed individuals. And there was a young man that worked in my office who worked for Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. And he would do all of our job development workshops. And I liked what he did. I said, all he's doing is facilitating workshops. I was on a speech team. I can get up in front of people and talk, you know, and I like the subject matter. Okay. And so I started shadowing him when he would go out and do these workshops and learning everything that he was doing. And then one day, a company called me up who I had done some done some workshops for, and they said, we're looking for a job developer. And our staff loves you, Marcus. We'd love to hire you if you're interested. And at that time, I was in that limbo. And I was trying to say, hey, what am I going to do? What is the next 8 years or so of my life going to look like? And I took a leap of faith. I left. I went into nonprofit work, and it was some of the most fulfilling work I've done in my lifetime. Helping individuals get back to work. One of the things that I learned is that if I help that one person, I'm literally helping an entire family get back to the goals and the dreams they have for themselves. So I did that for about 8 years in Chicago. And then my wife and I were trying to decide what we were going to do. We were about to have our second child. We were thinking about moving out of the city of Chicago because having 2 kids in the city is very expensive. Anybody's been to Chicago, you know how expensive it is. Think if you were married with 2 kids. It is no joke. And so we said to ourselves, if we were going to leave Chicago, we wouldn't move to the burbs in Illinois. We might as well move back to Michigan. And so at that time, I started looking. And the opportunities that were in Michigan weren't the same as in Chicago. So what I had to do was think of those transferable skills. And when I thought about that, I thought of career centers on the college level. And at that time, there was only 2 jobs available: Wayne State and University of Michigan. I grew up 5 minutes away from the University of Michigan my whole life. So to me, it was a dream job to be able to work in the athletic department at U of M. So I applied to both. I got an interview with U of M. Around November 25th, I got my first phone interview. By about the 10th of December, I had an in-person interview. By the day before Christmas, I had the job. And I literally was moving back to Michigan that next month to start on January 20th, 2016. So, as you can see my progression to the point where I am today, there was a lot of opportunities, and I tried a lot of different things on, okay? And I loved it. But I had to figure out who I was. In each chapter, I changed, okay? Because life changed. As you can hear, my little girl's over there, and my wife. Life changes. So the person I was in '97, coming to Ferris, is definitely different than the person I am here in 2018. But if you don't know who you are and do those self-reflections and be self-aware of yourself and those around you, it's kind of hard you're kind of lost out there. So working with student athletes at U of M, we are the first career center that's in athletics in the country. So that's pretty special. Why are we working with student athletes? Because they have a lot of barriers to employment. If you are a student athlete, who's a student athlete in the room? Raise your hand. Okay. What's the one thing you don't have enough of? Time. You don't have enough, do you? Now, you need 48 hours in a day to do the stuff you need to do. So one of the things that I've done is I've actually gone to employers and told them, you want to hire student athletes. They bring so much to the table. They're coachable, all right? They're goal-oriented. You know, they set those goals for themselves. They achieve on the field. They achieve academically on the highest level as well. You know, one of the other things is time management, right? What happens if you're late to practice? Oh, you're in trouble, right? So it's the same. Think of those transferable skills we talked about. It's the same thing in the real world. Employers are looking for that too. All right? One of the things that employers tell me all the time is that, and it's not a knock on your generation of millennials, but they just say, you know what? They're not coachable. They, time management. They're showing up 5 minutes late. 5 minutes late every day adds up in a month, right? And so they look at student athletes like, wow, this is kind of a diamond in the rough. You guys have all the intangible skills that we want in a new employee. But how do I recruit you? And so what I've done is I've asked employers to go back and scrap their recruiting models and change it just for student athletes. So here's your traditional student, and now here's the non-traditional student, the student athlete. And so an internship, I ask employers to modify their internships, make them a micro internship where it's either project-based, where you can fit it into your schedule. Maybe over a 3 or 4 week period, you do some projects to fit into your schedule. Maybe it's a 3 to 6 week internship instead of a 12-week to 40-an-hour-a-week internship that you're not going to be able to do because of training and traveling and all those other things that you have to commit to. So if an employer wants to work with us, they have to be on board with changing their protocol on how to recruit on campus with student athletes. And it's been remarkable what we've seen. I've also implemented career ventures for our student athletes. So the Career Center on campus does these kind of, let's go to Chicago for a week and check out these companies. Well, I've taken that concept and brought it down to athletics. And so now we have donors that are donating to sponsor student athlete only career venture. This summer we're actually going to have 2. One is going to go to Wall Street in New York, and they are going to meet with different firms in Wall Street, those that are interested in the finance sector. And then we have another one that's going to go to Illinois, Ohio, and Michigan. So it's going to be amazing for these student athletes to go on these micro career ventures to add to their portfolio, add to their resume, so now they have talking points for when they have those interviews. Because a lot of the student athletes that come and see me, they say, I don't have any skills. I don't have any experience. I hear that all the time. I've never had a job. And by the time they leave me, with 30 minutes of meeting with me, they have a full resume with all kinds of skills on it that they didn't know they had. We talked earlier about who are you? A majority of student athletes that come see me, they define themselves by their sport. Think about that. You define yourself by being a basketball player, being a football player, being a track and field. That's all you are? I think there's a little more to you than that. And when I start to peel back that onion and get to know you and understand what you've done and what you've accomplished, all of a sudden they're telling me things like, oh yeah, Coach had me run a camp of 50 kids, and I was in charge of them. I was mentoring them. I was teaching them new techniques. I had parents talking to me about the recruiting process and what I look for in schools and what my children should be doing to get better themselves. And I said, that doesn't sound like somebody who just worked a camp. Sounds like a lot more. Like you have a lot more to offer. And so you have to define yourself outside of your sport. You are so much more than the game you play. And the sooner you realize that, the more that you can start to build that parallel plan. Okay? One of the things we're trying to implement at U of M is having a parallel plan. I hate the term plan B. There's no plan B in life. Okay? You either planned or you didn't plan. All right? There's no fallback. Because if you don't make sure that fallback is ready, there's nothing to fall back on. All right? So we work in parallel plans. It's not about it's not about or this. It's about and this. Okay? So as you're preparing, you have that shot. And I tell every student athlete, I hope you make it to the pros. What an awesome opportunity, life-changing, to be able to go pro in your sport and change your family dynamic. That is an amazing accomplishment. But also know, one day that's going to end. It's just life. Remember we talk about life? Life happens. One injury. One team that decides, you know what? We're going to go get the veteran minimum with this guy. We're not going to develop this young player. Or something happens health-wise, or, whatever takes you out. All of a sudden, it's over. But guess what? If you plan, and you have this parallel plan, so it's like, well, you know what? When I was at Ferris, I wanted to get into broadcasting, or I wanted to be athletic director one day, and so I took these internships. I've made connections. I have a network of people I can reach out to. So when this does end, whenever that is, if that's during college, if that's a couple years out of college, if that's 10 years out of college after being pro, guess what? It's just an easy transition over, right? Easy transition because I'm prepared. Shoot, not everybody's going to be Charles Woodson and Tom Brady. 40 years old, making all kind of money. That's not the majority of NFL players. I was at a Pistons game last week, and I saw Jason Terry. Anybody remember that guy? He was on the Dallas championship years ago. Still playing. He's the oldest guy in the league right now. Just sitting on the bench, collecting the check. How lucky is that? How lucky, right? There's not many of those guys, though, at 40 still doing that. So all I want you to do is say, you know what? I'm interested in doing this one day. When the pros are over, when this opportunity is over, let me think about what I want to do and make a plan, make a parallel plan to that, so that when the time comes, it's an easy transition. And I already got it set up. Okay? So working with student athletes has been great. But as you can see, there's a lot of things that you can take away from this. I want you all to think about right now, if you had a clean slate, money wasn't an option, location wasn't an option, wasn't an issue, what would you do? What would be kind of that dream opportunity if you didn't have to worry about money or location? Think about that for a second. Who wants to volunteer? Who wants to shout out what theirs is?
I want to travel.
You want to travel?
And there's an individual for ESPN who travels all around, and he goes to different countries, different cities, learns about the culture, and then talks about sport and that culture.
Okay.
And I think that's an interesting point because it's something that's universal.
Great. Who else? Yes.
I would hope to go to grad school somewhere in Boston, like UMass Boston, and my own psychology practice.
Psychology practice. Great. One more. Who else? In the back. Okay. Those are those goals that we set for ourselves, okay? And it starts right now here at Ferris. It starts right now. Don't think about, I have time, all right? Life happens. Make those connections now. If you haven't had a job shadow with the current AD, you should set that up tomorrow, okay? Reach out to his office and say, I'd love to come in on I have some time off over the next couple weeks. What works on your schedule? I'd love to come and see what you do on a daily basis to get an understanding what an AD does, okay? Start reaching out to people who are traveling journalists, right? And find out what they do. What was their career path? How did they get into this awesome job of traveling and following sports and culture, right? But start connecting with those people and figure out, they've already done the blueprint for you. You don't have to figure this out yourself. But if you reach out, if you don't have a network, it can't work for you, right? Let your network work for you. Psychology. The same thing. You want to move Boston home?
No.
Or is that just the area you like? All right. Well, you know what? You start connecting with people locally that are doing that, and then start to find internships in the area that you want to go. You know, and like I said, sometimes you take a job just to get you to Boston. And once you get to Boston, you make it happen. So, but start planning now. Don't wait till you graduate to make a plan. It's too late then. Because believe me, if your parents are anything like mine, your room is already gone, seniors. All right? So make your plans now. One of the other things I want you to understand is, and I had a young lady in my office the other day who was so fearful of rejection, okay? Job search is very, very stressful. Would you guys agree? Finding an internship is stressful, but you hate the rejection, right? You hate to get the reply email like, we've already found some other candidates, thank you for your application, right? Something like that. So what's important is that you have to understand that everybody's going through rejection on a daily basis, okay? So it's nothing new. It's nothing new. What you have to do is get used to the rejection, okay? And when you get used to what rejection is, you can now build from that, okay? So what I mean from that, one of the things we do with our students is we actually have them do a rejection challenge, okay? And so if you guys want to try this, it's actually stressful, but when you come out on the other side, it's actually a good thing. So what we have you do is, I have you go to a Starbucks, you got one right in the hallway here, and I want you to go up and ask them for a free drink. So you order your drink and you go to pay and you say, I would like that for free. Okay? Now it's a buddy system now. So the other person is going to be recording you. Okay? The funniest thing about this, the person holding the phone is just as nervous as the person asking for the free drink. All right? So what it does is we then come back together and we look at the video as a group and we kind of dissect that. And what ends up happening is you realize that it really wasn't that bad. Asking for the free drink, I mean, it's a 50-50 chance, right? They say yes or no. If they say yes, winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right. So you practice this over and over in different things. It could be Starbucks, it could be wherever. And you just, what it does is it builds up kind of your immune system for rejection, okay? And you understand that, guess what? Just because I got rejected doesn't mean it's the end of the world. There's other opportunities out there for me. Another thing we do is we actually go through a resume and we actually look at all the rejections that you had corresponding on your resume. So start with your school. How many schools did you apply to before you got into Ferris? And so you list those schools, all right? You list all those schools, and then you go to your next section, your work experience. How many jobs did you get rejected on? What were the names of those jobs before you got that job? Awards and honors. How many awards and honors should you have gotten? Do you feel you should have gotten and you got passed over for, and write those awards out, right? And then at the end, share it with your friends. Let them see all your rejection. Guess what happens? You're looking at their rejection, you're looking at yours, and you realize we have a lot in common. Oh, you got rejected by that school too? I was up for that award. Oh man, yeah. It's just an interesting way to understand that it's no big deal. Rejection is part of the process, okay? You have to be proactive, you have to have momentum in job search, and you have to make sure that you just keep being consistent on a daily basis. Rejection is going to be part of it. It's a numbers game. You have to connect with folks, okay? In this job market, you guys have it so easy. I'm just telling you, you guys have it real easy. When I was going through Ferris and I was looking for my first job, I went to this thing called a bookstore. They don't have those a lot anymore, but the bookstore. And I got this book that had 500 top companies in America. And it had like where they're located, it had their address, it had an email. At that time, a website was literally, just one page for a company back in '01. So what happened was I would sit there and apply and apply and apply. I didn't have any contacts, I didn't know anybody there, and I was just mailing off opportunities and resumes. You actually have something called LinkedIn these days. LinkedIn is amazing. How many people have a LinkedIn? I see a couple arms down. You got one? You sure? All right. I'm telling you, it's the Holy Grail. It's the Holy Grail. If you need to talk to somebody, and with the invention of the internet, you're literally now, and LinkedIn, something like LinkedIn, you are literally, they used to say 6 degrees. You're more like 2 to 3 away from talking to somebody you want to talk to. So I had a young man in my office the other day on the football team. He wants to get into fashion. And I said, well, I bet you that I'm probably a couple degrees away connected from Sean Combs. And he said, really? Come on. And I said, well, let's look at my network. I got about 10,000 people I'm connected to on LinkedIn. So we put in Sean Combs. I had 1, 2, 3 connections. And then that person knew Sean Combs. He changed his name recently. I don't know if he went back to Diddy or whatever, but that's how easy it is. Connect to somebody, introduce yourself. Yeah, there might be rejection. They may not get back in touch with you, but you may have to find another angle to get connected. Okay? I had a meeting with Google the other day, Google in Ann Arbor. I want to bring some student athletes there for a full day immersion trip. And so we got to talking and we said, how cool would it be if we did some service projects together with our student athletes and individuals that work at Google together? And they can learn a little bit about what Google is. They have an internship program called the BOLD program, which is for diversity and inclusion. They're trying to get more women and persons and minorities into Google. It's a full internship during the summer. It's amazing. These are the types of opportunities that are out there. I work with the NHL, the NBA, the NFL, MLS. I work with all those companies in trying to find hires for them, talent for them. They just need you to get the experience. Nobody's going to hand you anything. If you don't have experience, when you leave Ferris, you are almost unhireable. That's the truth. You have to take advantage of the services that are here. If there's internships, if there's job shadows, informational interviews, whatever it is, take advantage of it. Because when you leave here, It doesn't matter if you went to Grand Valley, you went to Ferris, you went to Eastern, you went to Western. Those resumes, the only thing that's gonna be the difference is the experience, okay? So you have to leave here with some experience. When you leave here and you don't have experience, it's too late to get it. They already expect that you have it. And you can't turn back time. Let's just say you're that individual that goes pro. I had a quarterback for New England Patriots, not the one you're thinking of, but he did go to Michigan. He just retired. He's been on 9 different teams. He sent me his resume. He's been on 9 different teams since 2006. He called me and my supervisor up, ready to transition, right? And he was just like, I'm lost. Now this is a guy who's been a journeyman in the NFL since 2006. He's finally hanging up the cleats, never was a starter, just kind of that third string guy, third string, second string. And now he's going back to his old college saying, I don't know how to get a job. This is brand new to me. You know, when I went to school, this wasn't important. And now these checks are going to stop coming in, and all I get is this pension check once a year. I got family to feed now. And so now we're sitting down with a grown man at this point. He's about my age, maybe a couple years older. And I'm starting from the beginning. The things that he should have been doing when he was in college, I'm doing now at 40 something. Life happens. Life happens. So remember that at the end of the day, it's important that you understand that you have this one moment right now to kind of put yourself on a path to success. It's going to be hard. Believe me, you heard my story. It's going to be hard. Nothing's easy. Nothing's handed to you. You know, each one of you have your own unique journeys to this moment in your life. One of the things I want you to take away is be authentic to who you are. Okay? Don't change yourself for nobody. Be who you are, own it, and set goals for yourself. I always talk about working in five-year increments, all right? So it's hard to kind of think of what am I going to do for the rest of my life. But if you can just plan for the next 5 years, these are my goals over the next 5 years. I want to go to grad school, you know? Maybe I have a company that's paying for grad school. That's the other things you need to be looking at when you're looking at some of these companies you want to work for. Do they pay for grad school? Now that's a benefit, all right? I want to go to grad school. Or maybe I am one of those athletes that has a chance to go pro. So I'm going pro, but that parallel plan. In the off season, I'm taking grad classes. Okay? I just had Jabril Peppers on campus just a few months ago. Talking about grad school. First of all, he's got to finish college. He left early. It's all right. I want you to go get it. I want you to have that opportunity. But he realized this is not promised. So he came back on campus and he's looking at grad school over the summer. Get a couple classes in, a couple credits, and then next summer do a couple more. Braylon Edwards, anybody remember that guy? This past fall, he was on campus. There was an article about it in Detroit News. He came back after, 13 years in the pros. He told us, I sat down with a table with him. He told us, he said, Marcus, I pull out this phone, I got CEOs, alumni of Michigan, some of the biggest people in the world on this phone right here. And they can't do anything for me because I don't have a college degree. It's, you know, they'd love to hire him. You got to get that degree first. I can't pull any favors. As soon as you get that degree, give me a call. So it's real, you know, and sometimes you hear us older folks, I'm pointing at me, talk about, you know, what's going to happen 20, 30 years from now. I'm just telling you, I was in your shoes. I know it's only 18 years ago, but I wish I had somebody like me now to talk about and guide me. Just give me some tidbits on things I should be doing, you know? Because I was hungry back then, and I still am hungry. But I was confused. I didn't know, was this gonna work out? Who am I? What do I wanna be? Eventually I figured it out. And now here I am today. So the final thing I wanna wrap up with before we get a few questions. At the end of the day, you have to own this, okay? If you want to get into sports, believe me, I've been in sports radio. I am now in the athletic department. You know, it's all different. It's all different. Just know, learn as much as you can. Be open to change. Be open to other opportunities. You may have to leave that company and go to get the opportunity and the skills that you need, and then maybe come back to that company later. But do what you have to do to make yourself successful, which in the long run, you will be able to reach all of the goals that you set for yourself. So, earlier we talked about what that dash is going to be. I'm at that point where I'm defining that dash for myself. And that dash has everything to do with those two little girls over there. That's what it's come down to for me. After being on this planet for 40 years, I've realized that at the end of the day, my legacy is those two. And so all the people I've helped, all the young people I've mentored, at the end of the day, it comes down to my legacy. And my legacy is them. So thank you. Any questions? It's got to be one. There we go. Brave soul.
You work for Michigan.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask, not necessarily, more just your opinion on
Uh-huh.
student athletes. I noticed you said that you didn't quite say that what they're doing for sport is a job.
Yeah.
But if we remove everything, what are your personal opinions on the revenue generation for, let's say, power conference athletes versus student athletes?
Well, I think it's gotten to a point where there needs to be some type of compensation. I don't know how that's structured. I don't know how that works. Who gets what? But these sports are making a huge amount of money for these universities. And I think that the NCAA, all the ADs and presidents of the university have to sit down and figure out what that is. I think a lot of times you put a Band-Aid on a problem and hope it goes away. And this is a problem that's going to stick around for a while. And I think it just has to be addressed. I know there's people on both sides of it, and I see both sides, but I think we've gotten to a point where, we have video games with their names on it that we have to pull, like NCAA football, and settlements that happen with NCAA basketball. So I just think it's come a time where it has to be addressed, and I don't know what that format is, but there's people that get paid a lot more money than me to figure it out. But I do feel that at some point there's going to have to be some kind of compensation structure that's fair across the board for student athletes. Anybody else? Any other questions? All right. Oh.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
For the rejection, did anyone get free Starbucks?
Actually, one did. I have a softball player I work with all the time, Courtney, and I think it's her bubbly attitude. I really think, because she walks into my office and I'm just like, what do you want, Courtney? All right, she's just, it's so funny. Her dream internship that she's in line for is with Major League Baseball. We've been working on that for over a year for her. And they called her Little Miss Sunshine. That's what the execs at MLB in New York said. So anytime I call about Courtney, they're like, you mean Little Miss Sunshine? So I was like, personality counts, folks. You walk into an office, this young lady who went into the office last year for a job shadow, and they remember her. So, you got to take advantage of opportunities when they're presented to you. So, but yeah, somebody did.
I had another question.
Yeah.
You said that when you went on academic probation,
Yeah.
it was kind of like taking the blindfold off and realizing that you need to do something else.
Yeah.
Do you still have those moments like
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
life where you're like, maybe I need to
Yeah.
try something else?
Yeah,
Or was
yeah.
that like just the major one?
Always. I've learned that you can't be comfortable. Okay? You can't be comfortable. Even if it's your dream job, like working in Michigan athletics. All right? There's more things I want to do. I mean, I was asked out of the blue to be on the board of directors of a technical high school, pre-K to 12th grade, you know, because I had grown my network and people saw what I was doing and they were like, we need him on our board. So I don't know where that's going to lead me. It's something that's exciting that I've never done. I want to be in a position of influence at this point in my career. I don't want to, you know, I'm tired of working for somebody and not having a say in what needs to be done. And so I'm looking for positions of influence where I can make change happen the way I want to see it. So, yeah. And if you're not having those moments the rest of your life, then you need to have that self-evaluation, because I think you can't get comfortable. You can't get comfortable. Anybody else?
So how far down did the negative publicity dealing with NASA reach to you?
Oh, well, you know, it didn't, you know, we've had our internal talks about it, and protocols and things that should be happening, and people who should feel, staff should feel comfortable coming out and, you know, if you see something, say something. You know, we do have student athletes that were tied up in that. Some of those young ladies and now one young man were connected in some way to that gymnastics program up there, or the yeah. So yeah, it's something that has touched us, but we are, you know, strong in who we are as a community in Ann Arbor. We want to make sure that staff knows that they, you know, that this is a safe zone where they can openly talk, and if they see something, if they feel something that's, you know, off, that they can speak up and be heard. We definitely don't want anything like that to happen to us, and you know, we're sorry that our brothers and sisters at State are going through this. You know, because, you know, not everybody was part of the problem, you know, but, you know, when something like this happens, it's a wide net. So, but yeah, you know, we at Michigan are definitely aware of it, and we're trying to make our own internal changes to make sure things like that don't happen.
You mentioned talking to like players about who are about to go for the draft. What do those conversations kind of entail? Like, do you like set out like a 5-year plan for them? Like, we want you to come back and finish your degree, or like how does that type of conversation go? So, you know, we try to get in front of our student athletes, especially those that are in revenue generating sports, as soon as possible. I want them to understand that there's a plan for them. I never want somebody to leave U of M thinking, wow, they didn't do anything for me. They didn't get me ready for this, right? And so we put that plan together as if they're going pro or not. You know, we're talking about the rest of your life. We're not talking about the pros. The coaches are going to handle the pros, all right? They're going to handle that. That's not up to me. I'm trying to prepare you for the next 40 years of your life, all right? Not just the next 4 to 10. And so the things I'm talking about are things that you're going to be able to use for the rest of your life. And so we put those plans in case they always know they can come back at any time. So that's what we want. So yeah. Anybody else? What are some of the careers that we have in the audience that you're thinking of doing?
What do you want to be when you grow up? Asked you this before.
What do you want to be?
I want to be a head basketball coach.
Okay.
At a collegiate level.
Okay.
Division I division.
Nice. Nice. Who else?
Like I said earlier,
Yeah.
athletic director or defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah, but all my students, it's like, how, like, when you say you're confused and stuff, and like, athletes have, like, not a lack of time, how could we, like, juggle all that? Because I'm in a position. I'm proving myself. I got 2 more years left to play. So it's like I've been making myself very dedicated to my sport. But also in the back of my mind, I also want to, like you said, get ready for the next 40 years. My life in football doesn't work. So how can I do that though? Because you want to continue training throughout the summer.
Well, this is the thing. You know, I'll just tell you what we're doing with our football team right now. And this happens every year because as a student, I procrastinated. and it's the same everywhere around the country. Our football team is getting ready to go to Europe on their trip again. They're going to go to Europe. And this year, I know when they come back in March, or at the end of April when they come back, Coach Harbaugh has them off for the month of May. And so when they come back at the end of April, I know a ton of football players are going to be in my office saying, I want to do something, right? Because Coach gave me this time off, right? And so I'm already prepping the football staff like, if those guys want opportunities, they need to see me now, not later, all right? So knowing what your schedule is going to be, okay? I always tell everybody, look for 3 things. Look for internships, possibly a micro internship, something shortened that a company can do for you, where they still benefit from having you on staff and you can get something out of it that's relevant. Job shadows, only take a few hours, half a day, if that, to go job shadow somebody doing, like the AD here, or at a rival university, to go job shadow somebody who's doing that. And then informational interviews. Going out, interviewing people who are doing that job to get a sense of what they did, what their journey was. Those are all 3 ways to gain experience. They don't take up a lot of time. Now, like I said, you may have to massage a relationship for getting some kind of internship that fits with your schedule, you know? But believe me, companies will do that, especially companies where alumni are, you know, where you can tell your story as a Ferris Bulldog and say, hey, I'd love to come and learn what you do. Unfortunately, I'm a student athlete and I don't have a lot of time, but you know, I can probably put around 15 hours to maybe 20 hours a week into an opportunity. Could we mold something together that's flexible that I could get that experience? People want to help other people. At the core of who we are, they want to help. But you have to be your best advocate. Really, if you're not the best salesperson for yourself, nobody else will be. So you just kind of have to go out your comfort zone and say, hey, I have these 10 hours this week. I'm gonna job shadow somebody. I'm gonna do an informational interview. I'm gonna figure out a way to gain that experience. And that's what I tell our student athletes. And maybe it's, like I said, in the off season. Obviously during the season, it's packed. You're focused. But in that off season, find time to do it. You gotta make it happen. You gotta make it happen because this time will be gone. Those 2 years that you have left will be over before you know it. And then you're trying to do it as basically alumni trying to get experience. And that's a whole different situation. People wanna help you now because you're a college student. When you get into the real world, it's called get a job. And it's like, how do I get a job with no experience, right? So just work on that. Relationships, build relationships. And like I said, the first thing you should do tomorrow is get an email or stop over at the AD's office and say, can I get on his schedule just to talk to him? And then maybe from there I can get a conversation with him and then set up a time to do a job shadow with him, right? And I start reaching out to ADs around Michigan, up to Michigan Tech, all the way down to Grand Valley. I mean, I'd be reaching out to them just saying, this is who I am. I'd love to get on the phone with you for 15 minutes just to kind of do some informational interview with you. Maybe I can get some time to come down and job shadow you one day when I have some time. That's how it starts. That's how it starts. Does that work? You think that's a good plan? Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's hard. Don't get me wrong, man. I know it's hard. I mean, but you gotta figure out a way to do it. And those are easy ways to do it that don't take up a ton of time. And if you do that over the next 2 years, you're gonna look at your resume and be like, man, I accomplished a lot. Not only did I perform academically and athletically on the highest level, I was able to get these experiences as well. It's win-win-win. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you so much. This was great. This was great.